Good morning. It has been raining absolutely crazy here. It was actually even like hailing the other day. It's suspected that it might do that again today. I woke up at like 3 and then 6 because our power kept flickering in and out. Oh boy. Otherwise, you know what this weather means? Perfect writing ambiance. Mysteriously not working, but we don't need that. We'll just have 2 monitors today. I was plotting stuff out yesterday and got 1,096 words during that session, but now I'm no longer allowed to work on that. So this is something that I need to change within this scene. So I had written this scene or rewritten it following the last draft because all of the important elements had already been done well enough, or so I thought. And again, directionally is some of my problem here because I have them going off into this direction that makes no sense when they're about to, with the new outline, go this way, to add this kind of armor montage bonding scene between Twilvie and the armor. We need to keep up the appearance of them being in the castle for the armor making when really it's like to establish their ability to move within the castle for the house, right? Dun, dun, dun. So they actually do have to make some armor, not just kill people under the guise of it. But I have a castle layout. It does not make any sense to have them go this way where they meet this character instead of this way where they meet this character. So anyhow, it's such a dumb thing, but I have to go back and fix it now. And I saved it for today because as I was finishing this scene last time, I was just, you know, you get to the end of something and you feel like you've done so well, and then there's this one little thing and I realized it part of the way through and I was just annoyed with myself. It's such a small thing too. It's not going to be a big change, but like, I was like, I'm done. Let's finish this and then get myself a cappuccino. So that took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it is also much better. So it's kind of like it's worth the time to do, you know? I just keep like not suspecting or not like appropriately guessing how long something's gonna take. Also, I've saved longer than I thought it would. I thought it was gonna be like 2 or 3 sentences. It ended up being more than that because I just reread briefly the whole chapter and made tweaks here and there with some other things that just made it better. And yeah, 20 minutes gone. You know, that feels like the perfect summation of this project for me in a lot of ways. I was telling Becca, she'd asked how Project Death was going, and I was saying how it felt like, you know, when you're stuck in the ocean, like in the tide, and you're swimming the whole time, but you're like never making progress to get to the shore because it just keeps getting bigger, you keep getting pulled out. That is what this feels like. And I'm not even mad because I am making it better, I'm making it longer, which is what it needs to be to fit the kind of standard for this sort of story. It needs to be so that I can ultimately fix the stressy, messy ending, and, you know, to fix the stressy, messy ending, you also have to fix all the lead up in between so that it's smooth and not stressy, so that the hints are there and the foreshadowing all makes sense and all of the motivations are just tied perfectly together, you know? And thankfully, Becca mentioned that, you know, it felt the same way to her when she was working on Hexsphere. On the Severed and the Hunted, which I have here. Which makes me feel a little bit better because I did get to read this incredible book. I got to beta read it and now I have it. It came in the mail and I'm just excited to see, as always with all of the books I get to beta read, how the end product turned out. I cannot wait. It was so good. It was so like twisty in the best ways. The conclusion to this book is so epic. Oh. So, you know, makes me feel a little bit better that Becca went through the same thing with the book I ended up loving so much, so. All right, full water, full coffee. I'm ready for the next scene, which, by the way, this is the first time I'm writing it. This will be entirely first draft work, which is awesome. What I want to do here is really stretch out, like on the first day we did this, the second day this, and like yeah, give it a montagey feel. The important thing here is increasing the bond between the armorer and Tuovi. This is the first person she's ever been mostly honest with about her skills, because he knows, but he doesn't completely know. So there's still this kind of element. And though she's getting closer to him, she also can't really tell him about it, because if the house is all about tricking death, what would they do if they knew they had someone accessible to them who didn't even need to trick? Tuovi can just kill as is. So that's obviously a scene we see later, but like that's the kind of tension I need to build, is this like in and out of their growing sort of friendship, mentor-mentee relationship. And of course, I think one of the things I didn't completely have nailed during the draft that Jess read is that the armorer is hoping that Tuovi will replace him. He doesn't want to be at the house. That's why he's always leaving. He has his whole history and backstory with them, but it's not something he ever wanted. And initially he's like, sweet, I have this person that I can bring in and basically trade. You know, I'm gonna give her the powers to be an armorer, still have someone in the castle, and then I can give you here and y'all should be able to free me from this. I'm excited. But I have to do all of this work to just sprinkle. And the sprinkle has not been sprinkled yet. No. $7.20. I'll be right back. All right, back from brunch with my mother-in-law. Oh, hi kitten. Oh, bye kitten. And back to the work. Hi Zelda. Hi Zelda. Oh, now you'll move. Bye, bitch.
Thing's gonna be about that. God, we can't have that. Cancel the wedding!
Half a chapter of Project Death. Done. Patreon post. Done. Now it is time to switch to an outline under the pen name project, and then I'm gonna call it a little bit of research. My parents are gone for like 2 months, and so their house is going to be quiet. I am to check on it every week for them. And I'm thinking of using that time away from the skipper scamper of the dogs to try and record some audiobooks for some of my shorts. So Becca made a really great video on how to do this like a year ago. And she does all her own audiobooks, and so I was going to attempt that. It is far outside of the my skill set, so I can see it being a lot of like trial and error, but I just need to add that to my list to try and do. Starting with shorts also means that it won't take as long. So maybe I can knock it out this week. One of them. Maybe. Like a trial run. Maybe.
Let's do some outlining. Awesome. I already got 9 comments on this, so I'm excited to read through. But right now, it is time for something else. I went to a restaurant with my friend and they had like a mock Dole Whip drink. And this is my recreation of that. I always find working on the weekends really interesting because I have made it a goal not to work on the weekends or not to have any like pressing work on the weekends. And that has been really helpful in a lot of ways, that I'm not stressed and it like kind of forces a break because I know that breaks are important. But I also, in like this twisted way, because I'm not supposed to be working, it feels like any work I get done is like free work. I don't know if that makes sense. I sometimes feel like I get more done on like a random Sunday when I've decided to work because I don't have any stress about needing to meet certain like word count goals versus like during the week where I really I don't have hard and fast word count goals, but there is like an effort level that I'm usually trying to like hit, and if I don't hit it, I think I do feel bad, which is not great. And I've been reading my book, it's on my bedside table still, but The Perfectionist Guide to Letting Go, and I think some of that is all lumped in on when you set it as this thing, needing to meet this thing constantly, and if you fall below that, feeling bad. But so then I have days like today where I said it was a working Sunday, but because it was a Sunday and because generally I set that as a not working Sunday, I was like, let's just see what I get done. And something about that was so much more freeing and I got a lot done. I actually right now am working on this outline. This is a romance project that I had zero drafted or drafted for the first time, a first draft. Last year I got about 60,000 words in it, which was the goal. 65,000 or so words in it. And it's so funny because I had outlined that story and more or less completely stuck to the outline. But again, I'm just someone who needs to write it out to really like feel out my characters. And so now I'm going in and I'm gonna make it longer again. I think this will be like an 85,000 word story by the time it's done, just because I'm going to be putting some more stuff in, shifting a few things up in the outline. I'm following Romancing the Beats, so it's just having some more moments over the course of the story and just kind of moving stuff up a little bit, elongating parts. It's just kind of funny. This is one of the first stories that I followed the outline almost entirely, and it was great. Like, I have an incredible base to work with, and yet, again, I needed to write the characters in order to know the characters. It didn't matter how much outlining I'd done or how much character planning I'd done. I still needed to write them to know them. I'm working on getting this sort of phase 1 bit of the outline done, and there will be 3 more phases according to Romancing the Beats, which I do genuinely like. Don't follow it exactly, but you know, it is a great base. Did that, fixed a chapter in Project Death, got another like 700, 1,000 words or so I think I might have ended up with. Patreon post, what else did I do? Planned a trip with my brothers. Went to brunch, went on several walks. It has been a great day. I'm gonna finish up this first phase. And then I'm gonna see if tomorrow on Monday I can take the spirit of Sunday into Monday. If I can do it like, if if I can alleviate some of the pressure. Because I think the problem, of course, is that because I'm putting pressure on the situation, I actually like perform, quote unquote, worse. I know it's all mental. I know that. All right, to-do list. Done. Let us finish the drink and finish this phase. My battery died, but I finished it. Hooray! And I still have half of my drink or so. Cheers to Sunday. All right. Good morning. It's Monday. I actually changed this to be the right date. Monday the 24th. I'm working on some Notion stuff real quick. I'm gonna do it first for my video project tracker because I'm actually about to be gone to Spain for about a week and a half. And then I'm going to do it for, oh, can you see this? My WIP timeline and my game changer timeline. A little bit of organizing, Monday morning organizing. And then I think I'm going to probably jump straight into Project Death, though I do still have this romance project, fake dating romance project pulled up, so TBD. I'm trying to treat it like a Sunday. Am I doing Monday morning planning on a Sunday? Normally no, but otherwise, we're just playing it by ear. We're gonna see if this actually works. Or conversely, does it stress me out more? Who knows? Okay, I've spent some time screwing this up. The word I meant, idiosyncrasy. The word it was combining with, synchronicity. So I kept writing idiosyncronicities. However, I'm apparently not the only one who has had this problem before. Never heard this song before. Am I going to listen to this song? Yes. Also an Urban Dictionary. Don't know how legit this particular Urban Dictionary post is, but now I'm feeling inspired. How can I combine these two things? Words are hard. Get my Jersey Shore on. All right, stopping at the midpoint of love. So in these 2 days, I've added about 1,700 words to this outline. It is just about noon, so what I'm gonna do is, it's actually really nice outside. I think it is time for a walk break. The real key to making it feel like a sundae is the chocolate on top. Look at this. I changed the outlet. It's working again. There was 954 words last time I stopped in this chapter of Project Death. Let's see if I can't make that up to a finished chapter. Chocolate really does make everything better. All right, taking a quick break so that I can add... Can I add it to... How did Jess do this? Okay, enter the studio, stream this to your audience, YouTube. And Jess already made a perfect thumbnail for tomorrow. Yay, I've linked. Success. Okay. So I've added 578 words. Again, this chapter is actually going to be a lot more montagey, just because I need to get us from like through multiple days. I think it's actually gonna work really well when it's all said and done. There's gonna be like a lot of quick humor in it too, and some like interesting revelations. The armorer is gonna tell her about the first time he tricked someone into death, which is not what I'd planned on sharing here, but was something I knew I needed to share because I never fully did in the last chapter. So it's just gonna be fun. And so basically I've outlined each of the days, and I've done like a little bit in each day, but you know what? I'm just kind of tired of looking at the screen right now. And I think it's about time for some late lunch. So I'm gonna take a little ad break and we are going to come back to this.
authortube chat, Jess and I continued our Sid Field screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting, read through and kind of work through. But also this month was Mulan, so we did the Ballad of Mulan. It's a very short ballad with different translations, and we also got to watch Mulan, and this part of the job I took very seriously. After that fast, I'm very happy to have had my coffee. I finished the midpoint of love that I had stopped at, so now I have just phase 3 and on. 972 words out of the 4,742 is the second half of this original outline. So like basically I've nearly quadrupled it in size if I do the same thing again. Some of it is because even though I follow the outline the first time, I like come up with new scenes that still fit the original outline, and other times it's like now I'm coming up with more new scenes, you know? It ultimately is just gonna make the story better, and now this is what's getting me wondering if this is just my process. I've now gotten to a place where I can kind of outline and kind of stick to the outline. But I recognize that I need to still do that kind of zero draft vibe of feeling out my characters and sometimes letting them run wild and bringing it back to the outline. And then completely re-outline again using this weird amalgamation of zero first draft, following outline, kind of not, whatever. And then my hope is that I'll kind of more or less nail it in the second draft. I don't know if any of that makes sense. I think I'm also very hungry. Fasting is not for me. No power. No power continues. I'm realizing the downside is I don't have my notebook. I cannot find my notebook, which is very frustrating. And like I've been without it for I think like a week now. And I noticed that I'm not even doing some of my poems because that was like the notebook I did my poems in for Escape Roll. I know it's not great. I should be able to do them anywhere and anything. Writing should not be dependent on the perfect circumstances. I don't know if this is fully truly home the message though. I do, however, have another notebook that I got from a stationery store. So I think I might just start a new one, I guess. Yay! Yay! This just started up again on its own. The dryer did not. So in that way that sometimes you kind of look into exactly what you need to hear, for authortube chat, Jessica at the Heights Library and I are reading Sid Field's screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting, and we kind of segmented off by chapters, and this time was chapters 4 and 5. And wouldn't you know that as I was reading through, he had this little section. Oh, Finn. I'm impressed you managed to do that without knocking over my camera. Where he talks about writing is always an adventure. You really never know what's going to come out. And talking about sometimes you have to deviate from what you expect
your head's telling you one thing, it wants to write this specific thing, even if you in your heart know that's not what it needs to be for the story, but you can't proceed forward without just doing it. Field of Dreams writer-director told me that the same thing happened to him, and that the exercise of writing it out, even though it might be totally wrong for the screenplay, was one of the most important things he learned from reading this book. Many times writers on the verge of completing a project want to hold on to it and not finish it. After all, what are you gonna do when it's complete? Have you ever read a book and hated to finish it? You postponed reading the last few chapters or pages because you want to hang on to the pleasure it has given you. When you're writing, you'll find it may take you about 60 pages before you make contact with your characters, before they start talking to you, tell you what they want to do and say. Once you've made contact and established a connection with them, they'll take over. Let them do what they want. Trust your ability to exercise the choice of action and direction during the words on paper stage. Just don't expect your character to start talking to you from page 1. It doesn't work that way. Even if you've done your creative research and know your characters, you might have to experience some resistance before you break through and get in touch with them. Thank you, Sid Fields. That was exactly the pep talk that I needed to hear. It's so funny because for the most part, I've always felt like, you know, we're writers. If anything that authortube has taught me is that we're all doing this crazy thing to get a story out of it. We all do it in crazy different ways, but sometimes it's just nice to hear and be like, oh yeah, it's fine that I did all this prep work and they still weren't talking to me. I think that was the thing. I thought that when I started outlining, I would magically be able to like go from day dot and like get it all down and everything's gonna work. And I'm just not finding that to be true. And so it's just different, right? It's different than my expectations, but also those expectations were fully built up in like a the grass is greener kind of way. So why did I think that that's how it would work? That's not to say that I actually don't love this process, because I do. I think it is very nice to have a guideline the whole way you're going forward, but it's also nice to still let my characters kind of run free and wait to talk to me. And it's nice to be able to have more of a skeleton to come back to than just the zero draft that I fully used to do. None of it is bad, but as of like the writer that I am right now, I think this is nice. Sometimes I edit the vlogs alongside filming them just to like reel myself in, because sometimes they get really long and I don't realize. And that was one of these instances. So we'll see what I edited it down to. Please do comment down below. Let me know if you've changed your process over time, if your process changes based off of every time. Maybe you feel like you don't have a process because it's always changing. And let me know if you've ever had any advice hit you at like the exact perfect moment. I would love to know. Also, let me know if you too have like a journal that you write in that you struggle to write other places. I'm really sad. I have looked everywhere, which of course can't be true because it's gonna pop up. I only go so many places, but I feel like I've looked everywhere and I cannot find this notebook, and it is upsetting. Do I have anything else? Aha. Do you ever sometimes struggle with stage direction? Like, even though you've outlined, or maybe you haven't outlined, maybe you just like incorrectly rethought of a room somewhere, and like, has that ever presented problems to you when you're revising or editing, where you're like, oh, this doesn't actually make any sense and I'm gonna have to backtrack? And what do you do during those times? I know it's not always shuffling a lot of stuff, but sometimes it can like quite literally change a scene if you had something important happening here and you need them to get over here, but you wrote them all the way over here. And despite having drawn out a map of the castle, this still happened. You know, this is the hard part about revising. I'm having so many thoughts. This is why these end up so long. I feel like sometimes when we're revising, the hard part is you're juggling so many different things, and I still like to do my revisions in kind of swaths where I check out and make sure that like the plot all makes sense, and then I make sure, okay, within the plot, like the character motivations are still there. Like, do we always have like a pulse of the characters? And then you're going through and doing and checking like little inconsistencies. Like, you're always doing something, even when I do them in chunks. And yet you're still juggling so many things. So I have the map over here. I have this character note over here. I have like all these things, the last chapter, the last version of this chapter, the new outline, like it all has to come together to be one thing, and sometimes you just miss something. At least in this instance, I have fixed it now. And I think the only other thing that I really struggled with over the course of this video was treating it like a weekend, which I think I did more or less successfully do. You know, when the power was out, I was working entirely on kind of spring cleaning the garage. So I did that for a couple hours, which is something that I would allow myself to do on the weekend. I guess having more breaks in some ways is helpful. I don't know. Do you ever struggle with putting pressure on yourself and then sort of almost rebelling against that specific pressure, I guess, or debatably like crumbling under the pressure? I don't even know that it's a full rebellion so much as like panicking that I have to do what I said I would do and not allowing wiggle room or letting that paralyze me in some ways. I'm working on it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to hear your answers. And thank you so much to some of my new patrons this month. Rona, Mira, Amanda Curtis, Livy, Jess Jalufka, Z, Hector Luna, Toby Wynn, Jenna McCartney, Megan Donnelly, A.E. Lowell, Jordan O'Neill, and Katie Newton. And I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye!